All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? We are going to unpack a concept that is, well, it's huge. It comes from this incredible ancient Sanskrit text, the Paramatma Sandarbha, and it's all about a power called Maya. Now, I'm sure you've heard that word thrown around, but what does it really mean? That's what we're getting into today.
So let me start by asking you a question. And seriously, this is a question that has kept philosophers up at night for, well, forever. Just for a second, look around. The room you're in, the chair you're sitting on, even the screen you're looking at right now. Is any of it, real? Or is it possible that what we call reality is more like a really, really convincing dream? A grand illusion that we're all just participants in? That's the big mystery we're going to try and unravel. The Paramatma Sandarbha has this perfect way of explaining the problem. It uses this classic analogy. Picture this. You walk into a dark room, and out of the corner of your eye, you see something coiled up on the floor. Your heart just stops, right? Snake. But then someone flips on the light and, oh, it's just a piece of rope. See, the snake was never actually there. It was what the text calls a superimposition. Your mind projected it onto the rope because you couldn't see clearly. So the billion-dollar question becomes, could our entire reality be just like that? A cosmic case of mistaken identity? Okay, so this whole idea leads us straight to a major philosophical fork in the road. The text lays out two totally different theories that try to explain what's really going on with our reality. So this whole debate, it really comes down to two camps. First, you've got the illusion theory, which in Sanskrit is called Vivartavada. This camp says the world is just like that snake we talked about. It's not real, just a projection onto something that is real. But then you have the other side, the transformation theory, or Parinamavada, and their idea is completely different. They say the world is a real change, a genuine transformation of some kind of divine energy, kind of like how milk really, truly becomes yogurt. It's not an illusion, it's a new form of the original thing. So let's just be super clear on this first one. The illusion theory, Privartavada, is basically saying that the world you see and touch, it doesn't have any real substance of its own. It's like a mirage in the desert. The snake was never real, right? Well, this theory says the world we experience isn't really here either, not in the way we think it is. But then you've got the transformation theory, and it paints a totally different picture. The text uses another cool analogy here, the philosopher's stone. That mythical thing that could turn lead into gold without changing itself? That's the idea here. A divine energy transforms and becomes the world. But the source of that energy, the absolute, stays completely unchanged, completely whole. So from this point of view, the world is absolutely real. So, which one is it? Illusion or transformation? Well, according to the Paramatma Sandarbha, the key to figuring this out is to really understand the force behind the curtain, the power that's running this whole show. And that power is called Maya. And here's where things get really interesting, because most people hear Maya and they immediately think illusion. But that's not quite right, at least not according to this text. It describes Maya as a real, tangible, powerful energy of the absolute. It's an external energy called Bahiranga Shakti. Think of it less like a magic trick and more like a fundamental force of nature. So this energy, Maya, it's got a two-part job. Job number one, creation. It's the force that actually builds the entire material universe, everything you see around you. But its second job is just as critical. It conceals. It's like a veil that covers our soul's memory, its knowledge of its true spiritual self. It basically makes us forget who and what we really are. And that right there, that brings us to the text's final verdict. See, if Maya is a real energy, then what it creates, the universe, must also be real. So the Paramatma Sandarbha lands firmly on the side of the transformation theory, Parinamavada. To go back to our analogy, the world isn't an imaginary snake. It's a real rope. The problem isn't that the rope doesn't exist. The problem is that we're seeing it as a snake. Okay, so if the world is real, but we're just looking at it wrong, what does that actually mean for you and me in our day-to-day lives? Well, this is where that second job of Maya, the concealing part, really kicks in. It creates what the text calls the trap of the false ego. The text has this really striking way of putting it. It says that when the soul, the jiva, gets mixed up and starts thinking it is the body and the mind, this whole sense of I and mine just pops into existence. And this false I starts running the show, convincing us that we are this body, we are our personality, and that all this stuff we own is mine. And you can totally see this playing out in your own life, right? It's that voice in your head that says, I am my body. It's why we get so attached to being young and dread getting old. It's the stress we feel about our stuff, our relationships. It's that feeling that I have to do everything, that I'm all alone in this, competing against the world. Yup, according to the text, that's Maya, hard at work.
Okay, so we've looked at the big debate. We've unpacked this idea of Maya. So what's the bottom line? What's the big takeaway from all of this?
And this is really the heart of it all. The text isn't saying the world is fake or that our lives don't matter. Not at all. The world is real. The illusion, the Maya part, isn't the world out there. It's the story we tell ourselves in here, the mistaken belief that I am this temporary body, instead of the timeless, conscious self that's just, well, watching the show. And think about what that means. It's kind of mind-blowing. If the universe is a real transformation of a divine energy, then in a way, the universe is that energy. It's non-different from its source. You know, just like you can't separate the heat of the sun from the sun itself. It means creation is fundamentally plugged into its creator. It means reality itself is alive with consciousness. So I want to leave you with this final thought. If the world isn't some random accident or a meaningless illusion we should just ignore, but instead it's a real, purposeful performance of conscious energy, then you have to ask, right? What are we supposed to be learning from it all? What is this whole cosmic show trying to teach you about you?